Discipline consistently, even when you're tired. I don't know a parent who doesn't struggle with this. It's a challenge. As a parent, we have to be on 24/7. But I want to show you in this video one mindset shift that you can make now that's going to transform how you discipline in that moment when you're wiped out and really don't feel like doing it. You will do it differently if you can shift your mindset. Over the course of our children's lives, we're going to have lots of goals for them, but there's just a couple of goals that are kind of overarching goals that go for their lives. And I want to talk about how keeping those in mind and what those are will help you in those moments to be consistent in your discipline. Now, I'm assuming a positive, attached, close, personal relationship with the child in the context of our conversation. That's the first thing. And if you're struggling in that area, that needs to be your first goal. Developing a close relationship with your child. Yes, we can all be closer with our children, but I'm talking about the basics that we feel connected and attached, because even when we're correcting, we should still be connecting with our kids. When we look at God, this is how he works with us. He has a close personal connection with us, or he looks to develop that with us. And it's within the context of that close personal relationship that he reveals himself in the form of Jesus Christ and calls us to follow him closer. So with that understanding of this idea of a close personal relationship that we're working with in the context of, let's talk about two specific goals that you should have for your children. I would suggest those two goals have to do with teaching them how to cooperate and how to honor. Let's define what those two things are. When we're talking about cooperation, cooperation is just another word for obedience. But unfortunately, when you say obedience nowadays, people tend to have a reaction that's negative. They tend to think you mean obey now or else type stuff, which is not at all what the Bible says to do. That's not a biblical definition of obedience at all. Or they think we don't really have a role to play in teaching kids to obey. That's squelching their creativity and their personality. That's not teaching them to take initiative. We need to develop those things too, and children need to have a voice in family life as well. But a good leader is a good follower first, and they need to learn some prerequisite skills of how to follow well is also. Cooperation is the word I'm going to use here. And really, cooperation is following through on what you're told to do, instantly, completely, and cheerfully. Mom says, hey, you need to put your shoes away. You say, okay, Mom, and you go put your shoes away. And you come back and say, Mom, it's all done. And Mom says, thank you so much. I love how you put them away and even put them on the shelf. Appreciate that so much. You're free to go. Done. There we go. That's cooperation. Having that built in, that becomes an automatic routine in family life, that by and large, the vast majority of the time, I can tell one of my kids, hey, you need to do this thing. And they say, okay, Mom, okay, Dad. And they go do it. And they come on back and say, hey, it's all done. And I get to clear them from it and say, oh, great job. You're free to go. That routine needs to be well established, because that routine is not about getting the stuff done. That's nice. We want stuff to get done. But that's not the goal. The goal is molding their heart to know how to follow, to know how to hear when they're called. Because guess what? Jesus is going to call your kid too one day. Might call them before they're even grown up. God does that all the time. So we want our children to be ready when they hear their name being called, that they follow Jesus well. And they only learn that when we've worked on developing responsibility and obligation, that sense of, I need to do some things here, and learn how to cooperate in their hearts. Now, that's easier for some kids to develop than other kids, especially some of our kids who really have some great leadership potential in the future, but are struggling in exercising it right now. This can be a challenge for them. Yes, there are ways to do this with them as well, because your child does not have a heart that God can't reach. So a heart-based approach to parenting can reach your kid's heart as well. But for cooperation to truly work in family life, it requires change. Change in your child's heart, and sometimes change in our hearts as well, in how we approach our child also. But building that cooperation routine into your relationship with your child is really important. Yes, your child's going to have times where they're off and they get off track, and we've got ideas and strategies and tools to help get them back on track as well. But having it that most of the time this is working, that's a really big goal that we have for kids. So that's the first goal we're going to have for kids. The second goal I mentioned was honor. And honor, defined biblically, is treating others as special, doing more than what's expected, and having a good attitude. Really, honor is the way Jesus lived. He treated others as special. He did more than what was expected. He had a good attitude. We want to teach our children this desire to serve, to treat others in their world as special, to do more than what's expected, not just what's expected, more than what's expected, and to have a good attitude while you're doing that. You know, when a child is cleaning up the kitchen maybe, and they just do a little extra something when they're cleaning up, like maybe they wiped out the sink after they washed the dishes, that feels really good to us. And we're like, oh, thank you so much. We want to develop that in them. They're doing more than what's expected. Now, if your child's doing that while they're moaning about it, that doesn't work. That's not a good attitude, and it sort of ruins the gift that they're giving at that point. So we want to teach our children to live like Jesus and to serve others and to honor others. That's the second goal we want to keep in mind when we're tired and our kids are needing us to discipline them in some way, shape, or form. Oh, and I didn't even remember to tell you to push the like button yet. Well, if you're finding this video helpful, go ahead and push that like button. Okay, you're like, this sounds great, BJ. Teach them to cooperate, teach them to honor. That's fantastic. Those are great goals. But like, why am I keeping that in mind when my kid is like doing something bad and I need to discipline at that point? Well, let's talk about that. Well, first of all, if you look up the word discipline in the original languages that the Bible was written in, you're going to find more often than not, it's talking about to disciple, to train, to raise up, to teach and educate. And it doesn't talk that much about all the negative things we tend to think about when we hear the word discipline. Yes, there is a role for making sure our children understand that they need to get things done and that there are consequences for behavior. But more often than not, we should be disciplining on the positive side of things. So we can enter with that mindset when we're positively thinking about, hey, if I'm going in here to address a situation and I'm tired and everything, I'm going in here to continue the work of developing cooperation and honor still. And it's that really is going to change things. You see, because if you're thinking I'm going in with this mindset of I'm trying to develop cooperation, I'm trying to build this relationship even stronger, even when I'm correcting, I'm trying to be connecting also. Now, I'm not focusing on going into the room and saying, hey, stop that, don't do that, stop, stop, stop. I'm thinking about what I'm trying to get my child to start doing instead. We need to be positively focused in family life. You know, think about going on a trip. You're going on a family vacation. You don't think about where you are. You think about where you're trying to get to, and you plot a course to get there. Think the same way with your kids. Your kid's doing something wrong. They're here, point A, at home. We're trying to get them to point B, the right place. Point B is where you want to be. And there's a journey to get them there. When you go into the room and your child is behaving at point A behavior, you're not sitting there saying, stop, stop, stop. You might need to tell a child to stop for a moment, but you're also saying, you want to be doing this, and let me show you how to get there. When we can positively focus like that, we're keeping cooperation and honor in our mindsets of where we're trying to get to here. This is more positive, and we come alongside and we do much more discipline of supporting our kid in those moments, even when we're tired, because we have a consistent plan as well. But that's just it. A lot of us don't have a plan when we're parenting. We're just sort of reacting to whatever's happening in the moment. And, you know, we've read some blogs, watched some YouTube videos, read a parenting book here or there, but we haven't developed this overarching plan for parenting. But a heart-based approach to parenting provides just that. We've got a plan for helping build cooperation. We've got a plan for when kids get off track and we need to address those things. We've got a plan when siblings are in conflict. We've got a plan for lots of situations. And when you have a plan, you can enter calmly into a situation and parent well, the way you want to be parenting, even when you're tired. Now, if you're looking for resources to help you with that, there's some links down below in the description. Some of them are to some resources I have on JesusHelpMeParent.com, but one of them is to a new resource that the founders of the National Center for Biblical Parenting, Dr. Scott Turansky and Joanne Miller, have developed. They had this book, Home Improvement. It's been out for quite some time. They developed an audio book for it just this past year. Now they have a digital course that goes with the book. Some of what we were talking about right now was right from this book, and I highly recommend the book. I highly recommend the audiobook version, especially as a parent, because guess what? We don't have a lot of time to sit down and read. But I really recommend going ahead and getting access to the digital course, because there you've got videos that you can watch and rewatch over and over and over again. You can hit pause when you need to. You can listen to little bits here and there, because let's face facts, as parents, we only get little bits here and there of time where we can digest stuff like this. So go ahead, check the links in the description down below. And if you're hanging out here on YouTube any longer, go ahead and check out a couple of these videos that are in my YouTube library that are just right for you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you real soon. Bye, everyone.